All right, guys. So yesterday we did an R, an H, an S for Washburn Rural High School. And I was going to do the W for you guys on paper and then have it recorded so you guys could go back and look. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the horizon line. And then I'm going to go ahead and start with the W. So I know I want the W down kind of in this lower left corner. And so I went ahead today and put my horizon line just so you could see it on the recording. So there it is. And now I'm going to draw out my placement of my W. So I know that I want to see the rooftop of it. That's what I was telling you guys, is that I wanted to see the rooftop of the W. So I want it to either face, come out of the left, or I want it to face the, I guess, come out be more wide towards the right. So I have some options. And so I think I want my W to, the top of my W to be somewhat like this. I'm just going to freehand it in right now. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Ooh, that's really light. But there's a W right here. So that's what I'm looking for. And so if this were the side of the building, I could imagine dropping down kind of that vertical corner of my building coming out at me. So I'm just going to use this vertical line to start me off. Go ahead and use my straight edge so it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and go towards the vanishing point on the right. You have to just trust me. I'm going off to the right vanishing point. And then off this, I'm going to go to the left. Off my little line segment down here. Okay, so this is the beginning of the top of my building, the rooftop, because we're lower than the horizon line, so now we get to see the top of the building. And I can go ahead and set my vertical back, I guess, corner of my building. Make sure I'm symmetrical. Make sure I'm parallel. So this would be that back corner of my building. And then I can cross off with the left. And it gets kind of extreme because we're like looking down at this building. All right, so then I can come over here. I can actually kind of imagine this building going off the page. So now that I have this point of reference right here, I can go crisscross. I already went to the left, so I can go to the right. All right, so you can see I just keep on going out here. And now I need to figure out where I want my back of my roof to be. So I'm going to cross off with the left vanishing point and bring an orthogonal across here. I want enough room that I can get my W to fit. All right, so just like we've done with all the other letters, I need to get my crisscross, my X guideline in here. All right, so this is one half of my letter, and that's the other half. So for my W sitting this way, I am going to cross a guideline through the middle of my X here from the right. So it's just a guideline. Well, I guess the X is too, technically just a guideline. And then I can cross through the X with the left vanishing point. So I cross through with both the left and the right. So I kind of get this like piece of the pie kind of idea. So now I can start to try to put my W in there. My camera's freaking out. So I could have the middle of the W. So yeah, if we think of a W, kind of freehanded in there right now. So something like that, which is pretty narrow if I wanted it to go that way. Or, and my eraser's leaving little stuff all over. Or I could have my W go this direction. So you can see like one half of my W is going to be scrunched up back here, and the other half will have more space. So I think for this composition, I might go ahead and go this direction, like I originally planned. So I want this point of my W to hit the mid section. I almost want to treat this section here as a separate section from this section. So I'm going to go ahead, hopefully it doesn't get too confusing, but I'm going to go ahead from these four corners and put another X guideline in here. So if you're looking and listening to me, I probably have discouraged you from doing a W, at least on its back, laying down. So yeah, think twice about doing a word with a really complicated letter. I mean, if you really want to, I could always help you next week, Monday and Tuesday. But remember, there's only one of me, and even though we have smaller classes, you know, I still have to give everybody time. So if the complexity of your letter is, you know, more than one, I guess, the complexity, then we need to make sure I can get to everybody. All right, so I treated this as its own section. Back here, this little guy, I'm going to treat him as his own section. I shouldn't say little, because in reality, it's the same size, but it looks smaller. So this is my new X back here. And then, just like I did with this X here, I'm going to cross from the right vanishing point. I'm going to cross right through it. So I went through the middle X originally here with a guideline. And then I went through my new X and so I still have three orthogonals, three X's. One is on the whole entire structure, the other X is on one half, and the other X is on the other half. All right, so we have, I had a phone call, so I had to pause the video. So we have three X's, one down the middle, and then one on one side and one on the back side. So that gives me, right here where these orthogonals cross through from the right, that gives me three places to work with for my W. I already have the middle, right? So now I can start kind of drawing in my W. If we wanted to find out like where, like the width, like say I want the top of the W to be like from here to here, right? I can cross through with another orthogonal from the right vanishing point. So I'm just going to go far enough in that I can get to the X make sure I'm looking at the right X though. The X that crosses through the entire sculpture, or the entire surface, plane of space. Then once I get that mark right there, then I can cross off with the left through that dot, that intersection, and I can come back here on the back side. So I'm on the left vanishing point, and I can come back here and put a left orthogonal, and where that crosses off with the original X, I can put a dot. Now what does that tell me? That tells me back here how wide, or not wide actually, my top of my W is back here. It's pretty crazy. It's this wide up here and that narrow back there. But this is closer, that's farther away. If I wanted to increase that a little bit more, make it a little bit wider, I can. So maybe after seeing that, I'm like, whoa, I need to. But I also have to keep in mind where middle is here. So I want to come down and then go back up and come down. So actually maybe I'll keep it there. I'm just going to keep it. All right, so from this point right here, guys, I can come down to my middle of my first X with a diagonal line. Oops, wait, no, I don't want to go all the way down. I need to reference a place where I could go with my inside space. So you'll see what I mean hopefully in a minute here. So I'm going to put another left orthogonal through here. So many, right? Where that hits right there and where that hits back here on those mid lines of this section and this section, that's where I'm going to draw my diagonal line for my W. I'm officially going to start my W. Well, I guess I kind of started up there, but I'm going to do another section here. All right, so there I have that. Now I can come down with a parallel line. So I want to be parallel to my that diagonal that I just put in there. It's arbitrary. Oh wait, am I going to make it point? Oh, we'll make it point. That's right. Sorry. All right, so I'm going to go to the point. If I would have had a flat surface on my W, but I forgot I want to make it point. All right, so now I can take this up into the middle here. Now I can come back down to the other. Now I'm working on the other side of my W. It's kind of like two V's, I guess, right? Two V's stuck together. So you can see I needed all of these guidelines to get me, to get it all figured out. It's pretty nuts, pretty crazy. So some of your letters would have to have this, like W, X, Y a little bit would be a lot of lines. All right, kind of see it happening in there. So now I can decide if I think this is actual architecture. Maybe I feel like that's, too narrow, maybe, but maybe the height of my building will actually help me out here. So all of this, unfortunately, you guys, this is all gone now. I'm going to erase all of this. So where I thought originally my corner was, all that stuff that I helped me out to get the W correct, I can now take away. The only one that I'm going to keep is this back. No, I'm not even going to keep that. So I needed that kind of squared off structure to help me form my W. Otherwise it would be all weird and wouldn't make a lot of sense. So now off of I'll keep erasing, but now off of this corner right here, I'm going to make a nice parallel vertical line. I can kind of choose the height of my building here. I can choose the height here. Okay, so now I need to cut back to my right vanishing point. Well, actually, this ends up being almost 1 point again. Okay, so the front is not going to obey the point in this case. I'm just going to allow it to be somewhat parallel because I'm not dealing with just a straight structure anymore. I mean, sorry, 2 point. I've changed the angles. Alright, so if I want this to be a solid space back in here, I can go ahead and leave all that solid, especially if it's like a building, you know. Maybe this is, I think I said earlier on some of my classes, maybe this is classrooms or something in here. Sorry, watching me erase. Maybe I'll edit that out. Okay, so you can kind of see my structure happening here. You know, if I'm not happy, like I said earlier, I could maybe bring this up a little higher. So I could still make edits if I wanted to, because I can see enough of my lines all over the place that I could fix it up. So if I changed and I wanted this to actually come way up here, you know, I could still use enough of my grid system to figure that out. But I think if it were standing up, it'd probably look okay. It's just laying down on the ground. All right, so how does this line up with everything that we did on the whiteboard? So, you guys, I had my R kind of standing up proud and high. So if this is actually if this is a 1-story building here, right? My R, you know, I could have part of my R down lower. So if I went to start with, if you want to start with something like this on your project, in order to get my R in here, I'm actually going to look at this bottom corner of my W and draw back to my left vanishing point. So here I go again with lots of lines again, but we're going to draw through the W. So that's actually the base of my R. Maybe I want it to line up, you know, well, because this is the back, so the R can't sit any closer than that. So I could share this line with my R, but actually I want my R to sit a little further back off of the W. So I'm going to pick a place back here, perhaps I'm just trying to, see. Okay, perhaps maybe I'll do this section. It doesn't really matter. I could pick anywhere on there. And I'm going to go up, just like we started on the whiteboard. I'm going to go up into the sky with a longer vertical line. So my R actually comes all the way down and through behind the W, but I don't need to see all that. But I probably will need to see it if I want to, you know, have all right. So off of the vertical, I'm going to go ahead and draw my orthogonals to the right, just like we did on the whiteboard. And I'm going to draw my orthogonals to the left, which will match, the back here will match up to the W, the back of the, where the W meets the R. And then this would be that receding side, the left side of the building. And remember, I made it kind of go back far into the distance there. Make sure I'm parallel. So then these orthogonals here could get erased. And then I would put the other vertical line over here, nice and parallel. And then I can see back here enough to get my X guideline. And then I know I need, with an R, I need my 3 orthogonals to go through to create my negative space and start beginning the structure of my R. So because I put a horizon line in here, I get to erase that out. Alright, so I can use one of these existing orthogonals, remember, to get my depth or distance of my 2 sides of my R. Just like that. Okay, and then I either have the P, the A, or we can make it into an R, just like we did the other day. So this depth down here is important, so we're going to draw from the inside corner down. And then we could probably just use the X, actually. That looks kind of good to just use the X guideline, or we can be parallel. I'll be parallel just so I'm consistent with what I taught you guys. But don't forget, you guys can use your own judgment for certain things. If you think something looks better, then go ahead and stick with the more appealing look of whatever you're going for, even if it has to fub a little bit. Alright, so here I would have that R structure, back behind, right, the W. So the W would be out in the front of the structure, and then the R is back behind it. Alright, does that make sense? So I made the R a little big out of proportion maybe to the W, so maybe I could come down and increase my depth of my W. Just by extending this down and making it taller. So you can always kind of play around with your distance and depth of things. Height. Alright, there you go. Alright, so that's basically where we were on the whiteboard with the W kind of needing to be finished, and then the R, and we had the H, and we had the S. Alright, kiddos, hopefully that helped.